Welcome back to the channel, Book Dragons. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. This video has been a long time coming, I feel like. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. It is my favorite series of all time, and I have been wanting to make a video for a while now talking about my favorite characters from A Song of Ice and Fire. And you may hear me call it Game of Thrones from time to time because that's what everybody knows it as from the show. But it's taken me a while to come up with this list because there are so many great characters in this series that it's really hard for me to narrow down who my top 5 are. But I think I've done it. I think I've managed to come up with my list, so we're going to talk about it. And I'm just going to warn you, if you've never watched the show or you've never read the books, this is going to probably have some spoilers in it because when I'm talking about my favorite characters, I need to talk about why, and so that may spoil part of the information about the characters for you. So if you don't want that, please feel free to skip this video. I'd love for you to keep watching, but if you don't want spoilers, I totally get it, okay? So I'm going to start off with an honorable mention, and you may be surprised that he's an honorable mention for me, but that is the Wolf of the North, Eddard Stark, most commonly known by his nickname Ned. He is just an amazing character. Ned has principles and standards and a moral code that guides him, and that's what he thinks is needed to successfully rule a kingdom. And so when he gets chosen to be the hand of the king, those are the kind of expectations that he brings to the table. The only reason that I would say he's not in my top 5 characters is because I didn't really get to know Ned that well. And if you read the series, you know why. In this world, people who live by principles tend not to last very long. And we all know George loves to kill off favorite characters, and that's all I'm going to say. But I just didn't feel like I got to spend enough time with Eddard Stark to really put him in my top 5 characters. Now that doesn't mean that if a character dies, I'm not going to make them my favorite character. That's not necessarily the case, but it just so happens that the rest of these characters get a lot more development in the books than Eddard does. So we're going to leave Eddard Stark as my honorable mention, and we're going to go with my number 5. And guys, my number 5 is Sandor Clegane, commonly known by his nickname, the Hound. And guys, I just love Sandor Clegane. He comes off very cruel and heartless at times, and yet there's little glimmers of passion and compassion under the surface from him. And I think part of that is when he's around characters that he feels like he can relate to, that are going through things in their lives that are just horrifying for them, the way certain things happened to him in his life that were horrifying. So I think underneath the surface, there's a person who is capable of love and capable of being loved, but he's gone through so much trauma in his life that it's made him unwilling to show that part of himself. And so Clegane is just a fantastic character, and a lot of what makes him who he is the trauma that he experienced primarily at the hand of his brother Gregor Clegane, otherwise known as the Mountain. The interplay between those two characters, that the hatred that Sandor has for Gregor, and I even think there's a little bit of fear there as well, but that fear compels him to one day possibly get rid of his brother. So there's a lot of vengeance boiling under the surface there, and so I can't help but put him in my top 5. And he's not going to be in a lot of people's top 5. I totally get that, and I can understand why, but I really believe there's a lot more to the Hound than we're led to believe. All right, and the next person on my list is Brienne of Tarth. Brienne has a lot of things that seem to not work in her favor. In the world of Ice and Fire, women who are more masculine, especially if they're built more masculine as she is, and don't look pretty by this world's standards or attractive by this world's standards, are very much looked down upon and rejected by the social structures of this world. But there is so much more to Brienne, and one of the things I love about Brienne is her loyalty. She is probably one of the most loyal characters in this entire series. When she devotes herself to somebody, to serve somebody, she gives 110%. She is completely all in. And we see that in her relationship with Catelyn Stark. We see that in her relationship with Jaime Lannister, especially Jaime, I think. And they have a very unique relationship. I wouldn't really call it romantic because we all know that Jaime only has eyes for one person, which is really creepy, but that's kind of the way it is. But I do think that there is a strong emotional bond that forms between them over the course of the series. And at the initial outset, her relationship with Jaime is very strained, right? She's just kind of protecting him in a way, and he ridicules her and everything. He starts out as that bully that really treats her as every other man in Westeros has treated her. And yet over the course of their relationship, she develops a loyalty to him that I think is really sweet and really powerful, and I really love their connection. But Brienne is just a fantastic character. I would not want to go up against her in a duel. I think she can best pretty much anyone that she sets out to duel. And I mean, in the heart of a battle, you want Brienne on your side. She is seriously a force to be reckoned with. So I just think she's fantastic. And Gwendolyn Christie is the actor that portrays her in the show, and I think she was just perfectly cast. Gwendolyn Christie is a fantastic actor, and I just absolutely adored the way she portrayed Brienne on the show. And she comes in at number 4. Okay, so we're going to go on to number 3, and that, my friends, is Sir Davos Seaworth. I love Sir Davos. He's one of those grandfatherly type characters that you just want to sit down and talk with over a beer or a spot of tea and hear his life stories. And he's known as the Onion Knight, grew up in Flea Bottom, and he's been brought under servitude to House Baratheon. He's confident, he's courageous, he's also a very loyal character, and yet he's got so much wisdom to impart with everyone that he encounters. And when you first meet him, he's really kind of rough around the edges. You can tell he's been through a lot in life. He carries his fingers in a little bag around his neck as kind of a memento of the life that he knew before, but also as a reminder of who he serves. And I absolutely love his character. He's got a lot of grit and a lot of staying power, and he really tries to be a voice of reason with Stannis Baratheon, especially when people the likes of Melisandre come into the picture. He's so great. Absolutely love him. Alright, so we're going to move on to my number 2. And that, guys, is Daenerys Targaryen. Now, you may be surprised at that. You may be thinking, wow, Chaz, I thought she was probably going to be your number 1. Nope, she's not my number 1, but she's definitely my number 2. Daenerys is one of those characters that probably more than any other character in this series has just gone through complete hell in her life. When we start out the story, she's one of the last living family members of the Targaryen dynasty, along with her brother Viserys. She's just constantly put in toxic situations. Her brother really seems to abide by the rules of the old blood, where you intermarry with your siblings, and he's obviously just really, really creepy around her. And at the same time, he's trying to forge a new dynasty by selling off his sister into a marriage contract with Khal Drogo. And this is a really creepy move, especially because she's a teenager. Guys, I mean, I know they aged her up in the show, and Emilia Clarke was brilliant, by the way, in the role. But they aged her up in the show because in the books, she's 13 years old when she gets betrothed to Khal Drogo. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, she's not even physically of age to consummate that marriage yet. It's just this total weird situation and a total creep move by her brother. And eventually she grows to be very fond of Khal Drogo, but it's just she's been going through so much, and all she wants is to have her throne. Throughout the course of the rest of the story, we are following Daenerys trying to get herself into a position to take back the throne that rightly belongs to the Targaryen family. And she does quite a good job of it, I might add. She is just one of the most impressive female characters in this series, in my personal opinion. She takes power where she can get it, and she's not afraid to take risks to get where she needs to get. And her tenacity is just so impressive. And so for various reasons, she is my number 2 favorite character. I was just constantly rooting for her the whole time in the books, and I was rooting for her in the show as well. I was always like Team Daenerys. I'm like, yeah, I firmly believe she deserves to sit the Iron Throne. And I'm not going to spoil the end of the TV series, but I don't think the books are going to end the way the TV series did, or at least not totally. Maybe it will, but we'll see. I still want Daenerys Targaryen on that throne and ruling the Seven Kingdoms. I really do. So she is my number 2. And guys, my number 1 favorite character in A Song of Ice and Fire. Can you guess it? I'm going to give you a couple seconds here. Who do you think my number 1 character in A Song of Ice and Fire is? Okay. Are you ready? Have you made your guess? Let me know in the comments if you were right. My favorite character is Tyrion Lannister. Oh, Tyrion is the best character by far, in my opinion. I just absolutely love his wit. He is one of the characters that just kept me laughing throughout so many parts of the series, because his humor is so dry and witty and very pithy at times too. He's got a lot of great pithy sayings, and I just absolutely loved how he can take over a room by just not caring about the fact that he's almost a full 3 feet shorter than everybody else. He's just been through so much in life. His father obviously doesn't care 2 whits about him. He really and truly treats Tyrion like an illegitimate child, and despite all the rejection that Tyrion gets, and all the hatred from different people, and people who derogatorily refer to him as the imp, it's just obvious that at some point in life he realized no one's opinion of him matters except his own. And if everybody else is going to treat him like he doesn't matter, at least he matters in his own mind. And his sense of self-worth is just powerful, and he carries himself like a counselor to a king, or a king himself. He really does. He carries himself as befitting royalty, as the most important person in the room. And I think it's just fantastic. If we get the rest of the books in the series and George R.R. Martin kills him off, I am going to be so pissed, because I think Tyrion Lannister deserves to last the entire series. I really do. And if he doesn't, I am going to be pissed, guys. I'm gonna be pissed. But yeah, he's just got such a magnificent personality and a great outlook on life, I personally think. And I think that's evidenced by the fact that they put out a coffee table book called The Wit and Wisdom of Tyrion Lannister, which I'm going to get at some point because I love Tyrion so much. I have to own The Wit and Wisdom of Tyrion Lannister. Such a great character, and I think the casting of Peter Dinklage to play him in the show was perfectly done. I think he is just the perfect casting for that show. I don't know if you agree, but I thought it was just a brilliant casting. So that's my list, guys. That is my top 5 characters with one honorable mention from A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I would love to know your thoughts on this list. Let me know in the comments below what you thought, and let me know what some of your favorite characters from the series are as well. I would love to know. There are so many great characters, and the way George R.R. Martin writes characters is just absolutely amazing. So I hope that you will share with me your list in the comments as well. And until next time, make sure you read more books. We will talk soon. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank my patrons. Your support of my channel just means the world to me, and I am so thankful for it.